know, we have been involved in a discussion and a debate around the merits of a $15 minimum wage statewide. Much has been made about whether or not we would ever get to support, and we have put a number of two compromise proposals forward that would get us there. But much has also been made about the fact that employers support this proposal. In fact, only one business group supports this proposal, whose membership is largely based in the city of Chicago, and I don't begrudge them that at all. But what we want to, you hear from us all the time. What we thought would be instructive is for you to hear from businesses from throughout the state and of all types and sizes. We have here with us today, well, we will not hear from all of them, I promise you. But we do have representatives. You know, we have pharmacies here. We have bars, restaurants. We have manufacturers, water parks represented. We have hotels and convenience stores, to name just a few. In addition to the comments you hear today, you will also receive a pack of written comments where they are sharing the stories and the impacts they believe that going to $15 over 5 years from $8.25 will have on them. And that's really what we want to hear you to hear today is directly from the business owners. So enough from me. I'd like to begin with Karen Kahn from Kahn's Hospitality Group in Springfield and Peoria. Karen?
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Karen Kahn. It's K-A-R-E-N, last name C-O-N-N. I and my family own and operate a diverse mix of businesses in Central Illinois. Our businesses span across retail, lodging, and restaurant operations. When combined, we employ over 150 individuals from diverse backgrounds. We do everything we can to ensure our employees earn a livable wage based on the cost of living in Central Illinois. I do agree minimum wage should be increased, but I want to firmly emphasize with the consideration given to geographic locations within the state. Simply put, Southern and Central Illinois does not have the same economic benefits or cost of living as Metro Chicago. Each of our businesses provide an entry-level position to a less skilled workforce, and we've been able to offer resources and training that result in higher pay and potential long-term career positions. I myself began my work journey as a teenager in an entry-level position. I had absolutely no experience, but I did have a strong desire to learn and grow. Because I was afforded a chance in that entry-level position in that company, I was able to climb the ladder to become the president and CEO of the same family, which is Kahn's Hospitality Group. I am concerned that the statewide $15 minimum wage will cause so much economic pain in Central Illinois that our family will be forced to eliminate entry-level positions and the possibility of career growth. I don't say these things lightly, as our family has been reviewing budgets, forecasting product and service cost increases, and analyzing tolerable price increases to determine our next steps. It's not looking pretty for us or for our employees, as we foresee a cost increase not only from labor, but also with product vendors, insurance, utilities, and interest rates in the coming years. We've determined the unintended effects also of raising the minimum wage floor will also significantly impact all of our employees' wages, and our price adjustments will not be able to keep pace with the expense increase because of our industry's regional caps. And I would like to use an example of that regional cap. Lodging and reimbursement imposed by the Illinois Department of Management Services for Illinois government personnel in the Chicago metro area is the Chicago lodging rate. That rate ranges anywhere from $131 to $219 a night based on the time of year. But in suburban Cook County, it's $130 a night regardless. Surrounding counties then drop down to $80 per night. Downstate counties such as Champaign, Kankakee, LaSalle, McLean, Madison, Peoria, Rock Island, St. Clair, Sangamon, Tazewell, and Winnebago were $70 a night. And then every other county downstate, it's capped at $60 per night. That clearly shows the regional cost variations that exist within this state. Additionally, I've been told SB 1 provides special incentives for restaurant industries through the 60/40 server tip credit to the employers, and I should be thankful and satisfied. But increasing the floor of the minimum wage to $15 is still a 55% increase paid out to tip servers, which results in hundreds of thousands of dollars in increase in payroll expenses. I currently have not figured out how we're going to sustain our current level of services. So I'm convinced the tip credit for servers is portrayed as not the safety net for us as as we continue to operate. It's just simply not enough for downstate small business. Being faced with the increase of labor cost in our operations, it leaves us no option but to restructure how we do our business. We're evaluating each position on a cost-benefit. We're examining service levels and hours worked, and whether we can continue to provide retirement, training, goal incentives in the coming years. The end result is the reduction in job positions, hours, benefits, and overall the quality of life for our employees. Because I know and I respect every single individual that works for me, and this bill will eventually harm them, it drives me to keep working tirelessly towards a compromise to better fit for downstate. I respectfully ask our House of Representatives to hear from downstate businesses in order to craft a bill that is better fit for our unique economy of downstate Illinois. In closing, I'd like to quote an old Illinois tourism ad slogan, and it is, "There is a state outside of Chicago, and it's called Illinois." Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And we'll be happy to answer questions. We have 5 more. I'd like next like to call up Don Welge from Gilster, Mary Lee from Chester.
We're in the business of private brand, that's store brand, food manufacturing. For example, Great Value for Walmart, for Kroger, and so forth. That business rests on being able to show a price advantage to the consumer when compared to the national brand. Well, that price advantage usually needs to be at 20–25%. However, as a result, we cannot pay the same wage rates as some of the giant companies located, in most cases, outside of Illinois. If Illinois proceeds with the current legislation, it could have a disastrous effect on downstate Illinois. Whether it be our company or a lot of other companies, we just could not pay that much wages and still exist. For example, in downstate Illinois, we are the 5th largest employer. First is the state itself, who incidentally pays far less than that on some jobs in the penitentiaries. And that would take money away from Illinois, that Illinois doesn't have. They're already talking about a budget deficit. The deficit would grow even larger. Then secondly would be, the second biggest would be Scott Field, who is a big Air Force base. And I know they have people below this in the unskilled jobs wage rates. The third biggest would be SIU. And speaking of SIU, Carbondale, they have done a study, and it would cost them $6,700,000 a year in extra costs, since they have people well below the new proposed minimum wage. And SIU is already struggling. I serve on their board of directors, advisory board of the College of Business, and they constantly are struggling because the state can't pay its bills that's already committed for. And then to force them into spending $6 million more is disastrous. The 4th biggest employer would be General Tires, a highly automated operation that may or may not be able to handle this. I'm not acquainted with their wage structure. And we're the 4th largest employer. We have about 4,000 employees altogether. About 1,600 are in the state of Illinois. We have 14 plants. 6 plants are in Illinois. 6 plants are in Missouri. We have a plant in Arkansas and a plant in Colorado. What we would be forced to do is move considerable business out of our Illinois plants into the Missouri plants, particularly because it's right across the river and there happens to be a bridge right there. So the employees wouldn't even have to move. We'd have to move considerable business from the Illinois plants to Missouri plants, perhaps close a plant or 2, and if we're unsuccessful in that, we'd have to sell out to some larger corporation that in this case has no plants in Illinois. So we're just flirting with disaster, folks, and I think our political leaders have got to start taking this seriously, because if they do not, we're going to do a great deal of damage to the rest of Illinois. And the rest of Illinois is pretty important. That's where most of the food is raised, and incidentally, we use a lot of Illinois products. We use corn and wheat right out of the Illinois fields, and it's just so sad that it even got this far in discussion. It should be voted down, and voted down promptly, and a tiered wage increase, and none of us are against wage increases. Our average employees earn about $12.50 an hour, which is well above the Illinois minimum, but Some of those are skilled, and some of them have been with us some time. So as a result, they should have a tiered increase and should be spread over like 10 years instead of 5 years. This gives you an example of a product we make a lot of in our Illinois plants, macaroni and cheese. We have about 0.2 to 0.5 cent profit in this item. So therefore, we can lose business just at the drop of a hat on this type of product, which employs several hundred people in preparing this item. We're the second largest producer of mac and cheese in the country, way behind Kraft, of course. But these kind of jobs we need to encourage in Illinois. We don't need to discourage. So I hope that the legislature realizes this important point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. Now I'd like to call up Darren Dame from residents of Springfield, Michelle McConnell of Holiday Inn from Bloomington. Just a little
Hello, Darren Dame, D-A-R-I-N-D-A-M-E. And I'm representing our local hotel association. I am the president of our association. And just to let you know, our Springfield hotels have had an average rate of around $86 per night this last year. Increasing the minimum wage to $15 will force our hotels to raise our rates to $125 and up. This is not sustainable as a hotel in Springfield. While Chicago can get away with charging rates that high, our market cannot. You've heard the governor talk about the impact to the state budget when it comes to paying employees a higher wage. What you haven't heard anything about is the added burden to the state budget when it comes to higher hotel rates that state employees and legislators will be forced to pay because of our added cost. State employees travel throughout Illinois every day, and their costs are about to skyrocket because of this proposal. We hear that state employees have a hard time getting the state per diem rate at hotels now. You haven't seen anything yet. Hotels simply won't be able to afford to offer a room at a discounted rate anymore. This isn't good for our employees either. A lot of our owners actually pay a majority of our healthcare costs for quality plans. They contribute to our 401k match. They give cash bonuses, etc. That could possibly end because of this. While their hourly wage may be higher, their take-home pay may actually decrease at the end of the day. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Michelle McConnell, M-I-C-H-E-L-L-E. Last name is McConnell, M-C-C-O-N-N-E-L, representing the Holiday Inn Hotel and Suites Airport in Bloomington. And I would like to piggyback on what Darren had mentioned about benefits. My current owner, which is a local owner for the Holiday Inn, would be cutting benefits in the event that this would raise up to $15 an hour. Currently, my employees receive 3 sick days per year, and our ownership pays 75% of their health care premium. In addition to that, I wanted to add that in 2018, Carbondale, which is in southern Illinois obviously, saw a 7% decrease in room revenue, while Bloomington saw a decrease in room revenue by 5%. Occupancy for Carbondale was down 6% from the year prior, as well as Bloomington was down 4%. We are already struggling with occupancy, as you can see in the Illinois market outside of Chicago. Our downstate hotels are significantly impacted and unable to employ as many people as we used to in the past. Our rates, if this $15 an hour was passed, would increase by 30 to 40% in the Bloomington market, making our room rates comparable to what you would see in a Chicago hotel room. Lastly, I would like to add, we would end up cutting shifts. We would be looking for automated systems to take the place of those jobs, and we do not want that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Lance Martin from Huck's Convenience Stores, Carmine.
Hi, Lance Martin, L-A-N-C-E-M-A-R-T-I-N. I work for Huck's Convenience Stores. We run about 60 convenience stores, mostly in Southern Illinois. We are an 100% employee-owned company. We're an ESOP corporation, which means all of our profits go back to every single person that works for us. And we also are against this plan just for the sustainability of our business. I'll throw a couple numbers out here. The first year increase based on our current labor that we ran in 2019 projected, it would cost us about $1.2 million across 60 stores. So that number obviously represents a devastating blow to the sustainability of our stores in Illinois. Similar to some other merchants here, we also operate other stores in other states, which is kind of the option that we would be left with, is kind of gravitating to more business-friendly states. Lastly, I'll keep this pretty short too, but we also believe that we're not against kind of an increase in the minimum wage. I think this plan is just way too aggressive. We would, again, approach the regional or even just a slower rollout. We could get behind where we could adjust our business models to increase the sustainability of staying in the state of Illinois. And also, like I said, similar to a lot of these people, I think we don't pay a lot of our employees straight minimum wage. We try to hire kind of a step above to where we want to attract that best-in-class person. But if everybody is at 15, that's going to be the floor, and you're not going to be able to kind of separate yourself that way because you're not going to be able to afford to separate yourself that way. Thanks.
Thank you. Sandy Shaneborn from Lincoln Theater in Belleville.
Good afternoon. My name's Sandy Shaneborn, S-A-N-D-Y, S-C-H-O-E-N-B-O-R-N. Our business has been in continuous operation for almost 100 years, and my family has been the custodian of the historic Lincoln Theater for almost 40 years. We're considered the anchor in our downtown area, and we employ approximately 20 people, so we're maybe a little smaller than some of these other people that are talking today. But we also add people seasonally. We are first-time employers, and most of my staff, it's their very first job. 35% of my staff is under the age of 18, and 65% is under the age of 21. Some of my people start as young as 15 years old with a work permit. So we're teaching them the basics of having a job. They come to us, and some of them know nothing, so we're talking about you have to show up on time, and here's how you're scheduled. It's pretty basic. Our business allows young people in the community to get a job so that they can save or they can use their money to enhance their lifestyle. Currently, the payroll is their second largest expense, and it's just slightly over 26%. A minimum wage that almost doubles today's rate to $15 will double our expense, making it the single largest expense for our business. This does not even take into account all the price increases that we'll be facing from our other suppliers. My prices will have to double in less than 5 years just to keep up. And the people of our community certainly are not going to tolerate an increase of this magnitude. We'll probably be forced to close, like other small businesses of our type, and who rely on young first-time workers, and if the bill passes in its current form. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy. And finally, Mike Monseur of Godfather's Pizza and Do Chili Parlor in Springfield.
Rob, thank you. My name is Mike Monseur. That's M-O-N-S-E-U-R. And as Rob mentioned, I own and operate Godfather's Pizza and Do Chili Parlors of America. We employ nearly 200 people. I want to first thank you for listening to us. I also hope that I can reach the governor and the lawmakers making this decision. I first want to appreciate and thank them for their service and their willingness to listen to all sides of this, and as they work hard to improve the great state of Illinois. I am a small business owner, hoping to get their attention and the negative impact SB1 will have not only on my business, but my hardworking employees, my community, and my state. I understand campaign promises are made in the heat of an election, but that doesn't mean campaign promises are good for the state once all the facts are made and everything is thought through. I want our governor and our lawmakers to succeed. This is not what this is about. It's not a political issue. I want my governor and lawmakers to succeed. I and many business operators, excuse me, want to make sure our employees make a good living. We love to pay them much higher than the minimum wage, but the market dictates what is affordable in order to keep our lights on and workers working. It makes sense for us to prevent turnover in our staff. One way is to offer good wages, which we do, and take chances on others and watch them grow with our company. We can afford to make that investment and take chances with first-time job seekers now while giving the ability to reward employees who achieve different goals. We own and operate restaurants. We pay our managers very well. We offer them benefits and bonuses, programs and initiatives to grow with our business, which is good not only for me as a business owner, but our employees, my community, and my state. Many of our employees have been with us for over a decade, and there's a reason for that. We also provide opportunities for first-time job seekers looking to gain experience in the workforce. We have servers and delivery drivers who make very good money in tips because they provide very good service to customers. So the customer has a stake in this as well. SB 1 jeopardizes all this. As a business owner, I will no longer be able to absorb the cost of training new job seekers looking for real workplace experience. I will have to cut back on services such as delivery, eliminating those jobs altogether. So this is not good for our state. These are the facts. This is very real. No matter what you're being told, this is very real to many of us. And when I say us, I'm talking about the citizens and employees. How much will people be willing to pay for a pizza? You can only charge so much for a product. And when you reach that level, they stop buying. And then what happens? The business goes out. My community, or my business, has been here for over 40 years. That's Godfather's Pizza. Many businesses have been in this communities for decades, and they'll be forced to turn out their lights as well. That's the reality, ladies and gentlemen. Businesses must make money as well, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes I feel that when businesses make money, that's evil, and it's not. They are the ones providing opportunities, investments, and revenue in our community. We just recently bought, John and I, another company that's been in Central Illinois for over 110 years. It was about to go out of business, but we wanted to invest and save it. We've expanded. We went from 14 employees to 80 employees in that company. We have plans now for a national distribution, which we were planning to locate in Springfield, Illinois. But now we are thinking twice about that. I would like to keep investing in our community, but my government is forcing me to choose to make other choices. And that hurts me, because this is my home, and I love Springfield, Illinois. What this does to our employees, it creates a vicious cycle. Many of them are scared, and they have talked to us. Prices of goods, as you've heard, will go up. Then those making the new minimum wage find themselves in the same place that they're in now, but with fewer opportunities available to them and fewer jobs. So what happens then? Raise the minimum wage again, and the cycle continues over and over. Minimum wage is already above the national average. While I agree experienced people and managers should make a good wage, many of our staff are just getting started and using their positions with us as a stepping stone to better themselves and move up the ladder. SB 1 in its current form will take that away. So I'm scared. I'm scared for me as a business owner. I'm scared for my community, my employees, and our state. Our state has had problems for many years, not just the past few administrations, but we keep choosing to go down this path of taxing, spending, high costs and fees. Isn't it time to choose a different path so we can all benefit and prosper? Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, everyone. Before we get to questions, I think it'd be remiss not to point out the significance of what you've seen today. I've been at this 25 years representing the retail industry. I have often begged retailers and employers to come forward to share their concerns directly, to share their impacts. And they've always been hesitant for understandable reasons, because they're sharing private financial information, they're worried about frightening employees. There's lots of reasons that they don't want to do it. I think it speaks volumes to the threat that they're feeling today, that they're actually, this is the first time in my 25 years that they've been willing to be this transparent and come forward and share their stories and what's happening. So with that, I'd like to answer any questions you may have. One time, right here.
The governor said that he wants the House to pass this as is. This seems to be the first major initiative. He's wanting to get through the General Assembly. With that mentality, What do you foresee happening to the business community over the next 4 years?
Well, if it stays as is, which is essentially I know they're arguing a 6-year, but it's a 5-year phase-in with a 33.3% increase in the first 366 days, I think these people are telling you, and others who, in the packets that we're providing, are telling you it's going to be devastating, particularly for the suburban and downstate communities. I would argue also that the governor also came in with a desire to want to compromise in approaching things differently than we've experienced, certainly within the last 4 years, and potentially a little longer than that as well, when you get into the Quinn administration. And I think there's some hope that that will be lived up to as well.
But do you see that what's happening now, that's not going to happen, that compromise, that being open to hearing all of these different voices instead of just one, employer group out of Chicago?
I think we'll see what the House wants to do. I think that's why there's two branches of the legislative branch, and I know what we're hearing from legislators. We'll see if they indeed step up, and if there's a desire to truly see compromise in Springfield.
What's the tiered plan, and what tiered plan could these people live with? Leader Lightford says, I've never been given a plan. We hear from other people that you have a plan that you've shared with her. What
Yeah,
is
that
plan?
statement was simply in error,
So what are those numbers?
Yep, sure, happy to share it. And that's an important place to start, is that Irma has approached this, as well as others, saying we're not going to say just no, we're willing to come to it. So the compromise we put forward were twofold. One, do the Oregon approach. The Oregon approach was that they took Portland to a certain wage. I think it was $14.75. They took their metro counties to a slightly lower wage, and then they took the rest of the state, which is very rural, just like Illinois, to an even lower wage, and they kept them there. The second approach we put forward was the New York approach, and New York took New York City to $15 relatively quickly. I think it was over 4 or 5 years. They took the suburb, they took Long Island, the two counties on Long Island and Westchester, to 15 a little more slowly, and then they took the rest of the state over, I believe it was 10 years in total, because they're doing it by CPI and they cap at 15, so it'll be about a 10-year increase. We've put both proposals forward. And I think that shows that they're very viable proposals. They've been done in other places. They've been supported by the same entities that are supporting the increase here.
So what wage level is acceptable then?
We've indicated, well, I think you could begin by looking at what we talked about was a 15, 13, and 11. 15 in the city, 13 in the suburbs over 7 years, and so the city would go to 15 over 5, the suburbs to 13 over 7. You have to remember they're starting at 825 like the rest of the state, and then downstate would go to 11 over that same 5-year period.
If a college kid knows they can make $15 in Chicago and only 11 downstate, why wouldn't they just move to Chicago?
Well, but don't know why they would. I mean, they're in college where they're at, and those are the jobs that are available, and it costs a lot more money in Chicago. I think that's one of the significant things we pointed out as well. This treating Chicago as if the rest of the state as if it has the same strengths as Chicago is just simply illogical. No one else has 55+ million visitors a year or tourists a year. No other place in the city of Chicago or in the state of Illinois has millions of people who commute into their city center every day and spend millions every day on goods and services, and no one else has the concentration of businesses or wealth, frankly. No one has those economic dynamics.
So you're talking about 11.
Hannah, one at a time. Hannah.
Don, you had mentioned you had thought about moving your company over the border in Missouri. A lot of lawmakers were pushing this, specifically Kim Lightford. She says, "Oh, I've heard this argument many times before. They're always bluffing. They're not being real with us." What do you think that is? Is that an arrogance?
They're certainly not bluffing, because a lot of companies have already done this. For example, in one town in Steelville, Illinois, where we have a local manufacturer that's owned by a large corporate headquarters and has plants all over the country and the world as well. They're closing their plant in Illinois, and they give it one of the reasons, the Illinois taxes and the Illinois anti-business attitude. And I didn't even mention one of the big things that makes Illinois unattractive to manufacturers, and that is our employees earning the same wage rate, whether it be $10 an hour or $12 an hour, what it is, costs us $600 a year more for an Illinois employee earning the same wage rate as a Missouri employee in the extra costs of workman's comp and unemployment insurance. Illinois has got so much unemployment insurance payments that it has caused some families for generations to prefer to be unemployed rather than seek a lower paying job. And that's bad for our society, it's bad for our state.
And yet you're still here. Why aren't you in Missouri now?
Well, everything we've opened up recently has been in Missouri. So we started in Illinois. We have a lot of loyalty to the state of Illinois, but we can begin to move, and we will begin to
So
move.
what happens when those states decide to raise their minimum wage to $15 an hour? I mean, you guys keep
I don't
saying
think
that
they're
you're
going
gonna
to
move.
decide to do that. They're very happy that let Illinois give them a lot more people. This wage increase by Illinois is met with great joy in the surrounding states because there's no state close to that. For example, there's a lot of states on the eastern border of Illinois, a lot of industries have moved their plants into Indiana. Some of the employees still live in Illinois and drive back and forth, but they've moved their plants to Indiana. It's just an open invitation to move operations out of the state of Illinois. And I would think that our leadership, from the governor through the legislature and the Senate, ought to be able to see that. It is so basic. If you ran a grocery store and you charge 50% more for your groceries than any other grocery store, how long do you think you'd stay in the grocery business? Excuse me.
And I think one other quick point to add to that, at least when it comes to retail, you have to recognize a couple things. First, in addition to the dynamics that Chicago has that no other location does, 2/3 of Illinois' population lives within a 40-minute drive of a border. It's easy to move, or to either move or to shop elsewhere, and they do it. I think secondly, we have a limited ability to raise prices. There's only so much someone's going to pay for a pizza or a pair of shoes, and they can also get those more affordably from remote sellers who aren't under these same constrictions. Dave, you had a question? No? Okay, sorry. I'm sorry, yes?
How
Sorry.
bad will this hurt the state of Illinois in general? The economy of Illinois is already terrible when it comes to the fact that we are billions of dollars in debt. So what is this going to add to it to basically put a lot of you guys up there out of business or leaving the state?
In terms of the state fiscal impact, I'll address, the estimates so far are a little over $1 billion, but that doesn't include the impact to K through 12 elementary schools. It doesn't include higher education impact. It doesn't include local municipal governments, and we believe the social service number is seriously underestimated. As we've heard around the capital, nursing homes alone are expecting an absolute minimum impact of $300 million. So we would be led to believe that they're accounting for 1/3 of that. And I think what we're losing sight of here, that's additional taxes that these individuals all have to pay because that comes out of property tax, or they impose local higher sales taxes in certain cases, for schools. And they all have vendors as well, right? They all rely on vendors, whether it's janitorial, IT, accounting, legal, whatever, suppliers, whatever it is. And all of them are experiencing price increases too, as these folks have to pay. So it's not just, we can't just look at this in a silo.
Well, and to the point you just raised about school districts, we heard from the school district, alliance, the management alliance, essentially saying that, yes, it's going to lead to higher costs, and that means either decreased program opportunities or higher property taxes. And just a show of hands, business owners here, are property taxes too high in this state? Is it a chief concern for you guys? Yeah. So, all right. So I mean, with that possibility moving forward, I mean, is that just another element here that's not being discussed nearly enough?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think it most certainly is. And I will tell you this, I worked most of this weekend for obvious reasons. I'm fielding phone calls from school superintendents. Never had that happen in my career. And they're worried. I'll let the management speak for itself, but the fact that I'm receiving phone calls asking about things raises some interesting questions.
Question for Karen, if I can. Some of the people who support this have given the other side, which is that, I don't know how many people frequent your business from Springfield. Say half of them can go to Obed's and maybe 1 in 3 get their coffee at Lynn Vans. A lot of people say that if there's a higher minimum wage, that more people in Springfield can afford to frequent your business. Do you see any upside, or have you taken into consideration of what that might mean if more people in this city of Springfield have more money in their pocket?
I think there's a trickle-down effect that's going to add to the economic pain here, and that's our products we buy from farmers, that goes to a processor, that goes to a distributor, that comes to us. There's going to be 4 tiers of price increases, so I'm going to be forced to raise my prices. So the value of the dollar as it is today isn't going to be the same as it is going to be in 2025.
Thank you,
Karen,
everybody.
Karen, one other
Oh, I'm sorry, if I can just follow up really quickly to that question. I think we only have to look at the city of Chicago as well to recognize that that's just not true. City of Chicago has been on a path over the last 5 years to increase their starting wage. They're going to 13 on July 1. The argument was the same, and yet the same neighborhoods that are struggle to attract investment struggle today. The same food deserts, the same pharmacy deserts. We just have not seen that effect in the City of Chicago. So I understand they have studies, but real life tells us something different in the City of Chicago, as well as in Seattle and San Francisco and other places.
And
Last question.
And Karen, you just recently started a Springfield Restaurant Association, is that right? Or something to that effect?
There are local restaurant owners that have come together so that we could have a stronger voice when it comes to legislative.
So with
action.
that, you know, and the idea of the Restaurant Association predominantly out of the Chicago area coming down and supporting this effort moving forward, can you speak to the difference there between what the Chicago restaurateurs are experiencing versus what the rest of the restaurateurs in the state are?
Look at the economies of Chicago. They're currently at $13, and I believe in 2 years they need to be at the $15 rate. We are in downstate Illinois. We can't adjust our prices that quickly. So needless to say that we had a difference of opinion of what was going to be the best deal to be had, and we're just simply here asking that we take the downstate counties and we do a minimum wage by geographic region.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all. Why don't we get it out?